My name's Tyler, and I was 10 years old when this happened. Sundays were sacred in our house. It was the one day my dad was usually home from work. As a SWAT team leader, his schedule was unpredictable and honestly kind of scary sometimes. But that Sunday, he promised it was our day. We packed a cooler with snacks, brought along my newest toy, a super-fast RC car I'd saved up for months to buy, and headed to the park around noon. Mom had made her famous lemonade, and Dad even wore his civilian clothes, jeans, a tee, and his favorite old baseball cap. I was racing my car along the sidewalk, dodging picnic tables, zipping past pigeons, and doing donuts around park benches. People smiled, some kids clapped, few even asked to try it out. It felt like the best day ever. Until showed up Karen. Even before she opened her mouth, I knew she was trouble. She had that haircut. You know the one, the kind that looks like she walked into a salon and demanded, "Give me the let me speak to your manager special." She wore oversized sunglasses, tight beige pants, and carried a Starbucks cup like it was a badge of authority. But it wasn't just her look, it was the energy. It's that heavy "I own this place" vibe that made people uncomfortable. She was pushing an empty stroller. Behind her was a small dog yapping like it was trying to start a fight with the grass. Didn't think anything of it at first. People walk by all the time, but then I heard it. Excuse me, you can't play that here." I looked up. She was pointing at my RC car like it was a loaded weapon. "That's dangerous. What if it hits someone? What if it trips a child? This is a public park, young man." I was confused. I looked around. There were no kids even. Close to me, the nearest child was swinging about 40 feet away. I tried to explain, "I'm careful. I've been driving it away from people." That's when she scoffed. "Where are your parents? You shouldn't be out here alone." "I'm calling the police. This is unacceptable." I stared at her, stunned. Was she serious? Spoiler alert, she was. I ran over to our picnic spot where my dad was flipping burgers on a small grill and said, "Dad, this lady's mad about the car and said she's calling the cops." He raised an eyebrow. "Who's calling the cops?" Pointed, he turned to look, and as if on cue, Karen had her phone up to her ear, pacing in angry circles and speaking loudly. "Yes, officer. There's a child here with a dangerous toy." Yes, I said dangerous, and no parents in sight. He was racing it at high speeds, completely unsupervised. She paused, looked around, then locked eyes with my dad, who was now walking toward her calmly, but with that unmistakable SWAT leader stride. "Wait, I think a man is approaching me. He might be involved. I don't feel safe." Dad raised both hands casually and said, "Ma'am, I'm his father. Can we talk like adults?" But Karen wasn't interested in talking. She backed away like he was threatening her. "Can't intimidate me. I'm on the phone with the police. Stay back." Now here's the thing. My dad, despite his job, is one of the calmest people I know. In that moment, something in him switched. He looked down at me, then back at her. "You're calling the police on a child for playing with a toy?" Karen snapped. "It's endangering the public." That's when Dad did something I'll never forget. He pulled out his wallet and showed her his badge. Dad flipped open his badge, calm as ever. "Sergeant Daniel Hayes, SWAT Division, Metro PD." Karen froze. For a moment, it looked like someone had unplugged her. The confidence drained from her face, her mouth slightly open, her sunglasses slipping down her nose. "What? SWAT?" She stammered. Dad nodded, voice steady. "Yes, ma'am. What exactly did you tell the dispatcher? That my 10-year-old son was a threat to public safety because of a toy car?" She hesitated. I didn't know. He was unsupervised and you weren't there," and Dad cut her off. "I was 20 feet away. And you escalated the situation by calling 911 under false pretenses. It's not just irresponsible, it's illegal." Karen went pale. "Didn't mean to lie. I was just trying to protect people." Dad gave her a look that could freeze lava. "You know how many real emergencies happen in this city? And you tie up police resources because a child was playing?" Suddenly Karen wasn't so loud anymore. Then Dad said the kicker, "Don't move. The officers you called are on the way. Let's see what they think." She looked ready to bolt. About 6 minutes later, 2 patrol cars rolled up. Lights on, no sirens. I stood there, clutching my remote control. My RC car was parked neatly under a bench, like it was hiding too. The officers stepped out. One of them looked annoyed. The other looked like he was expecting a fight. Dad calmly stepped forward. Sergeant Hayes, SWAT Division, badge 6043. This woman called 911 on my son. He handed over his ID and badge. The younger officer blinked. Sir, you're SWAT? Yep, off duty. We were just having a picnic. Karen immediately jumped in, trying to regain control. I didn't know who he was. I just saw a child and supervised dangerous behavior. The older officer glanced at me. You were playing with a toy? I nodded. RC car. I kept it away from people. My dad chimed in, and I was 10 feet away grilling burgers. The officer looked at Karen. Ma'am, did you witness anything illegal or dangerous? She hesitated. Well, no. But he could have doesn't count. You filed a false report, potentially endangering response to actual emergencies. Her face twisted. This is ridiculous. You're all just covering for each other. Now that was the wrong thing to say, because the officer raised a brow. You're accusing a SWAT sergeant, 2 uniformed officers, and a child of collusion. Karen finally shut up. It was like watching a dam break. Karen's composure cracked right down the middle. Her voice rose, her hands flailed, her little dog barked furiously. I was just trying to do the right thing. This isn't fair. I pay taxes. The younger officer spoke gently. Ma'am, you can express your concerns without weaponizing. 911. There's protocol. But he didn't tell me he was a cop. He didn't have to. You didn't ask. And regardless, the issue is that you called emergency services over a non-emergency. Then, she made her final mistake. Fine. Arrest me then. I dare you. She expected them to back off. They didn't, ma'am. Turn around. She laughed until she saw the handcuffs. Wait, no. I was exaggerating. I didn't really mean click. She was officially under arrest for misuse of emergency services, public nuisance, and disturbing the peace. And then she cried, "Sfalon," dramatic, loud, snotty sobbing. Meanwhile, her little dog was still barking like it wanted to be cuffed too. As they led her to the squad car, Karen suddenly spun around and shouted, "I'm sorry, okay? I didn't know who you were." My dad looked at her. Doesn't matter who I am. You don't treat people like that. Especially kids. She didn't respond. They loaded her in, and the doors closed with that sharp click that said, "You messed up." Dad turned to me and said, "You okay?" I nodded. "I didn't do anything wrong," he smiled. "Exactly. You handled it better than most adults would." I felt 10 feet tall in that moment. People around the park clapped. Some even filmed. The whole thing, I later found out, it went viral. So what happened next? Karen was charged with a misdemeanor for filing a false report and fined. She didn't go to jail. She got community service and mandatory counseling. Her HOA privileges were suspended. Turns out she'd tried to ban kids from playing outdoors in her own neighborhood before. Oh, and that dog, animal control gave her a warning for not having it leashed. As for my dad, he became kind of a legend. The local paper wrote a story, SWAT Dad Teaches, entitled Woman, A Lesson in Respect. He didn't care about the attention. He just cared that I was safe, and that people knew not to mess with his family. And me? Well, I kept playing with my RC car, and every time I saw someone with a little too much attitude, I just smiled and thought, you really don't want to meet my dad. A few weeks before the Karen incident, something happened that didn't seem important at the time, but later it all made sense. I had gotten into a little argument at school. A kid named Brandon was bullying one of my classmates. I tried to step in, told him to stop, and he pushed me. When I told Dad, I expected him to storm down to the school or call the principal, but he didn't. Instead, he took me into the garage, where he was working on his motorcycle. "You did the right thing by standing up," he said, tightening a bolt. "But next time, don't just fight with words. Know when to stand your ground and when to hold your ground." I asked what. That meant he looked me in the eye and said something I'd never forget. People who scream the loudest are usually the ones who feel the weakest. But people who are calm in chaos are the strongest ones in the room. They came rushing back the day Karen showed up. I didn't yell, I didn't cry. Stood my ground and let the truth do the talking. So what happened to Karen after that day? Well, people talk. Especially in small neighborhoods, her mugshot ended up on a local gossip page. The comments were brutal. She really called the cops on a 10-year-old. The haircut explains everything. SWAT dad for mayor. Days, the homeowners association called an emergency meeting. Several people had their own stories about Karen: false complaints, arguments, threats to call animal control on harmless dogs. She wasn't just rude. She was known for trying to control everyone. Eventually, she resigned from the HOA board, or rather, was strongly encouraged to leave. Even her own neighbors started avoiding her. I almost felt sorry for her almost.